I opened a can of worms with the imposter video a day or two ago, and given that the can is already open, there's no point in resealing myself from an entire other form of content, although that is not to say I still won't post the silent content silently, the montages and what have you. So I am starting a new series, which I call Stolen Perceptions. Basically, it's rants and raves about various things video game that I feel strongly about. Today is a fairly simple, broad concept: Call of Duty. The first-person shooter franchise by Activision Corporation and later Activision Blizzard, after the merger, is a terrible esport. Not that it's a terrible franchise, although there are people in the scene that would make the argument that that is true, but certainly from an esport perspective, the game itself has a large number of flaws. Firstly, and most glaringly, something I call the name recognition gap. That is to say that if you aren't FaZe or Optic, you are basically unknown to the mass of the audience. Enigma 6, Envious, Cloud9, these are teams that appear in tournaments all the time, and yet their fan bases are eclipsed massively compared to those of the aforementioned FaZe and Optic. There's only one logical conclusion as to why that is that I can come up with, and that is the fact that all of the fan base for the franchise cares very little about the actual competitive scene for the game, for the filler teams of these tournaments, in part because these teams have no major casual YouTube following the way that FaZe or Optic came into prevalence in the Call of Duty scene. A quick Google search will reveal this. Hunting down either FaZe or Optic reveals YouTube channels of 4.3 and 1.3 million subscribers respectively. Looking at Cloud9, however, reveals a channel of only 148,000 subscribers, and all three of these are massive organizations with fingers in various competitive scenes, two of which are solely North American. FaZe counter-strikes majorly in the Confederacy of Independent States, in Russia, in Ukraine, what have you. So it's not exactly as though I found a low-ranking org to compare to. Even Envious is only 230,000 subscribers. This is, or at the very least was, a fairly dominant name in Counter-Strike's history at the very least. A relevant factor given that all four of these teams are well known in Counter-Strike. That being Optic, Cloud9, FaZe, and Envious. I don't know a whole lot about Enigma 6. It was just an example I brought up due to the videos I've been watching recently on the Call of Duty subject. Again, this has to do with the difference in the natures of these channels. FaZe and Optic do not make these channels quite so focused on the competitive aspects of the players and more on the casual gameplay, on the montages and what have you. Now, I will admit, FaZe's channel is nearing a year old as of its earliest public video. I think it's older than that, overall. While Optic, Cloud9, and Envious started their channels some 3 months ago. But even then, the stark contrast between these channels is telling. Secondly is the Call of Duty cycle. That is, the yearly release of a new game and everything shifting to a new game. Up until recently, older games were just barren wastelands of uncared-for history, although Sledgehammer has picked up that slack and is still supporting Advanced Warfare even now, 2 years later and with their game 6 months away. With everything shifting to a new game every year, there's no reason to look for any useful grenade throws or anything even verging on advanced map-based tactics. You'll never see a good team on Combine, or on Dominion, or on Throwback, or on what have you. Instead, sites are placed in the three primary game modes, those being Hardpoint, Search and Destroy, and Uplink, to determine the likely winner of a matchup, although the actual map could potentially make for moves that aren't possible on other maps. The maps aren't thought of much other than to differentiate between each other. If I say Throwback and Dominion, does any Call of Duty player know what I'm talking about? A few might come back and remember Throwback as being the map with the trains, the barn, the giant lemon, while Dominion is a forward port of Modern Warfare 2's Afghan. But if I asked if there was anything specific to do on Throwback, any grenade throws, any specific plays, any specific tactics to be played that would alter a player's style compared to where you would play on Dominion, there's not much to be thought of. While we're on the topic of maps, the pool of them is also ridiculously wide. Most, if not every map in the current game is available for play on any of the three game modes, which are stressed relatively equally on a side note. Including all of the maps within the first DLC, this is a whopping 17 maps to play through, and understand at any sort of a pro level. This basically means that even if a team wanted to specialize in maps, there'd be little chance that these specialized maps would even alter the bracketing. As series are best of 5, so they give or take 1 in 3 chance of any particular map even appearing, let alone being played. By the end of the year and the end of the game's life cycle, this will be 29 maps and about a 1 in 6 chance. Advanced strategy and advanced warfare is basically out the window because of it. As a final point, the bracketing system in Call of Duty's setup is horrendous. In Counter-Strike, we have the Legends and we have the Challengers, the Legends being teams that made playoffs at a previous major and immediately qualified for the group stage in the next major. And Challengers being teams that qualified for the major through a qualifier tournament and fill in the last 8 slots in the group stage. This does not include all the tournaments in between, which require their own qualifiers to get into. In Call of Duty, however, there's an open bracket group stage, and the top 12 teams of an initial 16 are qualified immediately for every major tournament basically across the entire year. At least if I understood the briefing Maven gave on the desk properly. The top 8, 2 from each group, are no questions asked for the entire tournament, while the last 4 of the 12 are no questions asked only for the second stage. The bottom 4 fight each other to qualify for the last giant tournament at the end of the league, so basically no team is out of the running until then, just not active at that point. Furthermore, across the year, there's more than $4 million in prize money awarded across. That's worded badly, but $4 million in prize money awarded across the year, just as grand prizes, and not including lesser placing teams just for showing up. To put this into perspective, the Major and Counter-Strike, arguably the more tactical team-based game, had a prize pool of only $1 million, and lesser tournaments without Valve's backing are lucky to scrounge up half of that. Now, I'm drawing a lot of parallels to Counter-Strike on the sole basis that I am more familiar with that scene. If I made a research error, let me know. However, I ask that you inform me down in the comments saying, what does this kid even know? He said X, Y, or Z. What a moron. I don't explain, so maybe I can come back to the other topics in the Call of Duty sphere and have a somewhat better understanding of the game and the eSport. I tried to find analyst talks like Thorn and Semler provide for Counter-Strike and couldn't find anything on Call of Duty. So if you have any of those, they'd be greatly appreciated also. Else I might get into it myself, just so there's some information out there. I couldn't even find anything on the teams and players outside of Wikipedia, so it's still not exactly a reliable source even for that.